All right, now we're going to use our lives controller that we made in the last video, and we're going to set up how we can draw a score box and show our lives for the user so that they know how many lives they have left. Now we can make just like a little mini Kiwi that will serve as our sprite, and we'll draw the number of Kiwis that we have for lives. So if you create a new sprite, and I've named mine Sprite Kiwi Lives, and we can just load the same right-facing Kiwi that we used, but we need to edit that because it's 32 by 32 and we just want it to be a mini Kiwi. So we edit that and we can transform it and stretch it down to 16 by 16. And we'll again make sure that's transparent. So we just have a small Kiwi that we'll use to draw for our number of lives. Then we want to create another object that has no sprite. And I've called this object Scorebox. No sprite. And we're going to use some dynamic drawing to draw the score box, and the score box will have the number of Kiwi icons for the number of lives we have, and we're also going to set it so that it draws itself dynamically, meaning it will stay in the top corner no matter where the Kiwi is within our viewport. So we need to add an event, and we need to add a draw event, and then within there we need to add some drawing actions. Now the draw tab is hidden. You have to use the arrow and go down to the draw tab, and the first thing we want to do is have it set a color, and this is to set the color of our score box. So you just pick some sort of a lightish color that might go with your Kiwi Kai. I'm just going to pick a light greeny color. So we have to, when we're drawing, we first have to set the color, and then we have to tell it what we want to draw. So sort of like pick the color and then draw something. So we're going to draw a rectangle, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because when we draw the rectangle, we want to draw it based on the current view. So we can't just say draw it at x5 and y5. We have to say the x view plus 5, or where you are in the viewport, and the y view plus 5. So the way we do that is we say your current view underscore x view plus 5. So take your current x and add 5 to that within the view. Take your current y position within the view and add another 5 to that. So that just gives it a bit of a border. It's not stuck in the very top right corner. It'll be down 5 and over 5. Then this x2 and y2, that's going to be the other point on the rectangle. So we're saying now take the x view and add 95 to that. So basically, oops, I need a plus sign. Start drawing on the x at the x view 5 over from that, and then go along until you have the current x view plus 95. So that'll be sort of your top edge or your width of your rectangle. Then we want to do the same for y, so it knows how the other dimension, like the height. So we take the view of the y view plus 45. Plus 45, and it would be filled. If we did it just an outline, that would just, your score box would be an outline, but this is going to make a solid rectangle. So basically you're drawing this taking into account the viewport. And so from 5 to 95 on the viewport along the X, from 5 down to 45 within that viewport on the Y. Then we also want to, so we have to go back to our scoring tab for this. We want to draw our lives, and we want to draw our lives as an image. So this is what allows us to draw the number of lives translated into an image. Now we have to think about that same thing about the X view and the Y view. So we're not hard coding it at X10 and Y10, otherwise we wouldn't see it if that's not part of the view. So within our platform, we're saying the X view plus 10. So start drawing there. And remember, our rectangle was at 5, so this gives it another 5 pixels of padding. And then we'll do our X view. Oops. Before I was doing all underscores and now I'm doing all pluses. Our Y view, and we want to also start drawing down 10. And we'll use our small Kiwi, our Kiwi, Sprite Kiwi Lives, to draw that. And the final thing that we'll add is we're going to add the word score. And so we'll set another color, so we need to go back to our drawing tab and we're going to set our color. And here we probably want to pick a darker color. I might pick dark green. And then we have to tell it where to draw it. So this is setting the color of the rectangle, draw the lives as an image, now set the color of the caption, and then we are going to draw the score. So here we're going to set that at the view, X view, plus 10, and view, Y view, plus 27. And you'll have to play with these depending on, upon your game when you actually create your own. And just see how they'll actually fit and if you need to move them down or across. We'll set that for ours. And then we need to add an instance of the controller and the score to each room. The controller really is only necessary in the first room, but we'll add more actions to it later on, making it useful for all the rooms. They will appear as a little blue circle with a question mark, but that way you just know they're there, but they'll be invisible. So we'll go to our room and we will add our Scorebox object and also controller. Notice that they just have a blue question mark because we don't have a sprite for them. And then we have to do one other thing. We have to make sure that when our object when our Kiwi collides with one of our enemies, that one life is taken away. So if we go into our trap, if we go into our Kiwi object, and when it collides with our trap, we want to make sure that we also have another action that says set lives relative to -1. So set lives, and we're going to put it -1 relative, so it goes down by 1 every time. And if we do this before we restart the room, that's important. We're going to also add that same thing to the stoat collision. So we're going to set the value of lives. Oops, sorry, I had test. -1 relative, and we want that just before we restart the room for our collision with our stoat. And since the trap is basically the parent to the other ones, then we don't have to do it for any of the other enemies. So that automatically will count. And now here we'll save it. I'm going to save and also test the game. Now we can hear our forest sound playing in the background. We have our Scorebox drawing, and we have our Kiwis with our 4 Kiwis. So you can see our score going up when I get a worm. If I run into that, I've lost a life. Again, we can see our score increasing. Let's see what happens when I run into a dog. I've lost a life. So that seems to be working correctly. So now we have our scoring working correctly and drawing, and our lives working correctly and drawing. The final thing to do is to create a start screen, and that will be in the final video tutorial. But this is 90% of the game. Now you just need a start screen, which will be basically another room.